Good evening, I'm José Candelario, and this is Puerto Rico Coast to Coast. Tonight, the path to the 2026 midterms runs straight through the Puerto Rican diaspora, especially Florida and Pennsylvania. We'll take a look at who's doing the work, where the numbers are growing, and why small procedural choices like Medicaid policy changes real lives and voter behavior. And we will also connect with the island's economic recovery to the migration patterns shaping stateside politics. Stay with me. Now, here's the frame. More than 5 million people of Puerto Rican origin live stateside. Florida and Pennsylvania are the two largest hubs, and both are politically consequential. Pew's latest snapshot puts Florida at roughly 1/5 of the stateside Puerto Rican population, and Pennsylvania about 8%. The two communities are large enough to tip statewide outcomes when turnout margins are tight. Pennsylvania's Latino electorate, heavily Puerto Rican in places like Allentown and Reading, has more than doubled since 2000. It is now a fixture in every statewide campaign plan. And the raw headcount, well, a fresh 2025 analysis puts Pennsylvania's Puerto Rican population at 475,000. Either way, it's top 3 in the nation. Florida remains #1 by a mile. Puerto Rican voter mobilization ahead of 2026. Now, let me tell you, mobilization isn't magic. It's infrastructure. For 2026, think in 3 buckets. Registration for movers and first-timers, re-engagements of drop-off voters from 2024, and information defense, countering confusion on voter by mail, ID, and polling. On the ground, national Latino groups did the heavy lifting in 2024. Hispanic Federation alone mobilized millions across multiple states, and they saw that they keep scaling, and they say they'll keep scaling that ecosystem. Phone banks, WhatsApp trees, church canvases become the lattice for 2026. But to win Puerto Rican turnout, you have to meet communities where they live. Florida is sprawling. Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville. It's also a state where Medicaid hasn't been expanded, and now that matters for economic stress and political silence. In Pennsylvania, by contrast, you got defense networks along the 222 corridor. Reporters called this the epicenter for Latino voters in the Commonwealth in 2024. That's infrastructure you can lift right into 2026. Now, leading into 2024, we saw door-knocking campaigns targeting Puerto Rican households. We saw Spanish language radio pushing vote plan checklists. That's the playbook for midterms, when the turnout is usually typically very, very low. Now, what moves Puerto Rican voters? Well, the pocketbook and healthcare, island diaspora connective issues, respect. To this day, still, respect. Moments of disrespect in 2024 sparked a burst of organizing. That energy can be reactivated. So going into 2026, the question isn't, do Puerto Ricans matter? It's who invested in sustained local relationships and who talks policy that lands at the kitchen table. Not Florida, not Pennsylvania, but let's check out Chicago. Why? Because civic power starts far from the polling place. 2 institutions to know: Puerto Rican Cultural Center, PRCC, in Humboldt Park. They run a 12-week paid internship program. Job training, mentorship, and empowerment. First job, first mentor equals first voter who shows up. ASPIRA of Illinois, historic leadership development for Puerto Rican youth. From clubs to schools to alumni networks, they seed organizers, campaign staffers, and even school board members. If you want turnout in 2026, you start in after-school rooms in 2025. That young person with a mentor, a stipend, a resume line, they're the ones who answer the door when the canvasser locks. Now, Medicaid. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. When they move stateside, coverage depends on state policy. Pennsylvania expanded Medicaid. About 3 million are covered today. But officials warn proposed federal cuts could threaten coverage in hospitals. Florida has not expanded Medicaid. Multiple cycles of debate, rejection, and delay leading to saying voters support it, but the state refuses. That means a coverage gap for working age adults, many of them Puerto Rican families post-Maria. Why does this matter in 2026? Because health security is a turnout variable. If your child's care depends on red tape, you feel anger, and that anger votes. On the island now, the Fiscal Oversight Board's fiscal plans set the frame for recovery. They're controversial, but they're blueprint for the government. They're the blueprint for government and utilities. The Planning Board reports 2.1 GNP growth for fiscal year 2024. Not a boom, but stabilization after years of contraction. Stabilization slows some departures, nudges some return migration, but not enough to reverse decade-long outflow. Why does that decimal point matter? Because family economics are trans-jurisdictional. If a Willis clinic in Bayamon lacks staff, the cousin in Allentown wires money. If the grid falters in San Juan, diaspora groups in Orlando send aid and remember who voted for what relief package. That memory shows up at the polls. The moral is simple. Turnout follows respects and results. Respect is how you talk to us. Results are whether the policy works. Now in the clinic, the classroom, and in the polling place, all three of these. On Thursday, we'll pivot to culture and celebration. But tonight, if you're in Florida or Pennsylvania, check your registration. If you moved, update it. And if you got a teenager in PRCC, ASPIRA, anywhere, remind them, you're not just the future, you're the margin. I'm José Candelario for Puerto Rican Coast to Coast. Buenas noches, mi gente.